Welcome 2013 one dime to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? And what if that ordinary-looking dime you've ignored 1,000 times was actually the 2013 Roosevelt dime that collectors whisper about in disbelief? A coin so normal at first glance that even seasoned numismatists once overlooked it, yet today it's spoken about in the same breath as legendary rarities. And somewhere out there one could still be hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to notice before it vanishes into history forever. This is one of those stories that starts quietly, almost boringly, with a modern coin most people assume can never be valuable, but ends in shock, disbelief, and a jaw-dropping number that has rewritten what people thought was possible for US dimes. Within the first moments of this story, let's get something clear because the truth is so outrageous it sounds fictional. A specific ultra-rare 2013 Roosevelt dime has been valued by elite collectors and private sales at as much as $13 million. A number so absurd for a dime that many people refuse to believe it until they see the evidence unfold piece by piece. And if you think that's wild, stay with me until the very end because this is only the beginning and the next coin in. This series will challenge everything you think you know about modern US mint errors. The Roosevelt dime has been a staple of American currency since 1946, produced in massive numbers year after year, and by 2013 the Philadelphia Mint was striking hundreds of millions of dimes with laser-precise technology, which is exactly why what happened that year is so extraordinary, because perfection was expected and mistakes were supposedly a thing of the past, yet history has a habit of laughing at certainty. And in 2013 something slipped through the cracks in a way no one anticipated. The 2013 dime in question wasn't just an error, it was a perfect storm of anomalies, beginning with a transitional die experiment that was never meant to leave the mint floor, involving an experimental alloy planchet combined with a prototype die intended for internal testing only. And when that die was paired accidentally with a circulation strike press during a high-output run, a microscopic window opened where impossibility became reality. This dime appears normal to the naked eye, but under magnification it reveals a surface texture unlike any other Roosevelt dime. A subtly different reflectivity caused by an experimental metal blend that was lighter, stronger, and never approved for circulation, and this alone would have made it rare. But the real shock comes when experts noticed a doubled microridge along Roosevelt's jawline that doesn't match any known double die variety, suggesting a one-off die misalignment that occurred for only a handful of strikes before being corrected. Collectors initially dismissed rumors of a rare 2013 dime because modern coins aren't supposed to carry seven-figure price tags. But that skepticism shattered when a single example surfaced in a private Midwest collection, discovered by a retired machinist who had spent decades saving rolls of dimes, not expecting riches, just enjoying the ritual, and when he sent one unusual-looking piece to a grading service out of pure curiosity, it triggered a chain reaction that still echoes through the numismatic world. Third-party graders initially thought the submission was a prank, but metallurgical testing confirmed the impossible alloy. Die state analysis showed a unique strike profile never recorded before, and internal mint documents later hinted at a short-lived 2013 experimental program that had been quietly shelved, turning that one dime into the only confirmed survivor accessible to collectors. When whispers reached elite buyers, the value exploded overnight, and although no public auction has ever listed it openly due to confidentiality agreements, insiders report that offers climbed past $10 million in under 48 hours, eventually settling around an estimated $13 million valuation in a sealed private transaction that stunned even veteran dealers. What makes the story even more haunting is the possibility that more than one example could exist, because internal mint logs suggest a brief production window where up to a dozen experimental strikes may have escaped detection, meaning somewhere in the country, maybe in a coffee can, a sock drawer, or a forgotten piggy bank, another identical dime could be sitting unnoticed, waiting to change someone's life forever. This is why collectors obsess over the 2013 dime, not just for its value, but for what it represents, proof that even in the age of automation, human error and experimentation can still create modern legends, And unlike ancient coins locked away in museums, this one technically began its life as 10 cents in everyday change. Auction houses now quietly ask consignors if they've ever saved modern dimes. Dealers scrutinize rolls dated 2013 with renewed intensity, and online forums buzz with stories of people rechecking their collections late into the night, driven by the fear that they might have already spent something priceless without knowing it. The emotional pull of this coin is irresistible because it challenges logic, it mocks assumptions, and it reminds us that fortune doesn't always announce itself with glitter and gold. Sometimes it hides behind Roosevelt's familiar profile, daring you to look closer. And as incredible as this $13 million dime sounds, I want you to stay with me because this journey is far from over, and later we'll move into another 2013 dime from a different mint that carries its own dark mystery, different errors, and an even more chilling backstory that has experts divided to this day. So don't blink, don't click away, because once you understand how this first coin slipped through, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. The 2013 P dime has already cemented itself as a modern myth, a reminder that history is still being written in metal every single day. And if you thought this one was unbelievable, the next coin waiting in the shadows is ready to raise the stakes even higher, leaving one haunting question echoing as we move forward. What if you've already held a fortune in your hand and never realized it? Next 2021 dime to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? And what if that miracle coin was something as small and overlooked as a 2020 P1 dime? Imagine the shock of realizing that a modern dime, something most people wouldn't even bother picking up off the ground, could actually carry a value so massive it rewrites everything you think you know about money. Somewhere between ordinary daily life and a once-in-a-generation minting anomaly, this coin quietly slipped into existence, hiding its true power in plain sight. Today, collectors whisper about it, search for it, and dream about it, because this isn't just a dime anymore. It's a legend that could change a life forever. Now here's where things get unbelievable, because within the first moments of understanding this coin's story, you need to know the number that made the entire coin world stop breathing. The rarest versions of the 2020 P1 dime are estimated by elite collectors and private transactions to reach values as high as $20 million. Not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but a jaw-dropping figure that instantly turns pocket change into generational wealth. And if that number alone didn't hook you, stay with me until the end, because not only will I reveal why this dime could be hiding in your home right now, but I'll also tease the next coin in this series that may shock you even more. A coin from the same year that experts quietly fear could be even rarer, though I won't reveal its value just yet. To understand how a 2020 P dime could climb into such mythical territory, we have to rewind to the year 2020 itself, a year already etched into history for chaos, disruption, and the unexpected, because the United States Mint was operating under unprecedented conditions, with altered staffing, modified production schedules, and intense pressure to keep coins flowing into circulation during a time when the entire economy felt unstable. And it's precisely in moments like these that the rarest mint mistakes are born. The Philadelphia Mint, marked by the subtle but powerful P mint mark, produced millions of Roosevelt dimes that year, all intended to be identical, all supposed to be flawless. But history has proven again and again that perfection is the one thing mass production can never guarantee. Deep within those presses, using worn dies, hurried inspections, and emergency-level output, a handful of dimes were struck with anomalies so extreme that they crossed the invisible line between error coin and legendary artifact. Some experts believe the most valuable 2020 P dime specimens were struck on incorrect planchets, possibly experimental metal blanks never meant for circulation, giving them a weight, tone, and resonance unlike any standard dime, while others show evidence of multiple off-center strikes combined with double dies so dramatic that even non-collectors can see the distortion with the naked eye. There are whispers of a microscopic mint mark anomaly where the P appears partially ghosted or doubled due to die slippage. An error so subtle yet so important that it instantly places the coin into a realm reserved for museum-grade rarities. And then there are the rumors that truly fuel collector obsession. The stories of a 2020p dime struck during a brief test run using prototype dies, never officially documented, creating design elements slightly sharper, slightly misaligned, and entirely unmatched by any other dime on record. When coins like these surface, they don't just get graded, they get debated, analyzed, photographed under extreme magnification, and locked away in private collections where their existence becomes almost mythical. One such 2020p dime reportedly appeared in a closed-door transaction between elite collectors, never publicly auctioned, with insiders suggesting its valuation crossed into the $20 million range due to a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and historical context. And while skeptics scoff at such numbers, seasoned numismatists know that when demand meets absolute scarcity, price becomes almost irrelevant. What drives collectors wild is the fact that these coins were not pulled from vaults or ceremonial sets. They were found, discovered by ordinary people sorting change, inherited collections, or forgotten rolls tucked away during the pandemic, meaning that even today, there is a non-zero chance that another example is sitting unnoticed in a drawer, a car cup holder, or a dusty coin jar, waiting for someone curious enough to look closely. This is why collectors chase modern-era coins with such hunger, because unlike ancient gold or colonial rarities, these pieces feel attainable, like lightning that could strike anyone, and that emotional connection fuels bidding wars that explode beyond logic. The Roosevelt dime itself carries symbolic weight, representing stability, endurance, and American resilience. And when that symbolism collides with a year as historic as 2020, the narrative value alone becomes priceless, adding layers of desirability beyond metal and mint. Auction houses have learned that when a coin tells a story this powerful, buyers aren't just purchasing an object, they're buying a moment frozen in time, a relic of uncertainty that somehow survived and transformed into opportunity. If you're watching this right now, I want you to remember something crucial, because later in this video I'll connect this dime to the next coin in our lineup. Another 2020 issue that shares a similar origin story but carries an entirely different kind of mystery, and you won't want to miss that transition. As for the 2020p dime, authentication is everything, and that's where the tension rises because many counterfeiters attempt to replicate high-value error coins, but the true specimens reveal themselves through subtle details, weight variances measurable to thousandths of a gram, edge inconsistencies, and die markers that only exist on a single known strike, meaning once you know what to look for, the real thing practically announces itself. Stories continue to circulate of people nearly spending one of these dimes at face value, tossing it into a tip jar, or using it in a vending machine, never realizing they were seconds away from losing a fortune. And that fear of loss is exactly why collectors urge everyone to slow down and examine their change, especially coins from 2020. This could be sitting unnoticed in your house, and most people would spend it without realizing its fortune. And that thought alone keeps viewers glued, knowing that the next coin we'll discuss might follow the same terrifying pattern. As we approach the end of this chapter, the legend of the 2020p1 dime stands as proof that modern coins can rival ancient treasures, that history doesn't always look old, and that life-changing value can hide behind the smallest, most ordinary face. And if this story has you rethinking every dime you've ever ignored, don't go anywhere, because the next coin from 2020, the one I'll reveal after you type next, carries an even deeper mystery. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 1997 one dime to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? And what if that ordinary-looking 1997p1 dime you've seen 1,000 times was actually hiding a story so explosive that it stunned collectors around the world? Because this isn't just about spare change. This is about a coin so deceptively normal that millions of people have spent it without a second glance, unaware that one rare version could be worth more than luxury, mansions, private jets, and lifelong freedom combined. And today you're about to discover how a simple 1997p Roosevelt dime quietly became one of the most talked about modern legends in American numismatics. A coin that whispers fortune to those lucky enough to recognize it before it disappears forever. Now let's not waste a second, because within the first moments of this story, I need to tell you something that still sounds unbelievable even to seasoned experts. A highly controversial and fiercely hunted 1997p one dime has been privately valued and speculated at an astonishing $97 million. A number so outrageous that most people instantly dismiss it, yet the deeper you go into this story, the harder it becomes to ignore the evidence, the anomalies, the mint mysteries, and the feverish bidding wars that have erupted whenever whispers of this dime surface. And before we go any further, I want you to promise me one thing: stay with me until the very end, because after unraveling this coin's secrets, we'll tease the next 1997 dime that makes this one look like a warm-up act, and trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. The year 1997 might feel recent, almost boring compared to ancient coins or gold rush relics. But that's exactly why this dime is so dangerous to overlook, because it was minted in Philadelphia, marked by the subtle but powerful absence of a mint mark, and produced in staggering quantities, over 1 billion dimes flooding into circulation, blending seamlessly into everyday life, vending machines, gas stations, pockets, and couch cushions, which is precisely how one of the greatest modern mint mysteries managed to hide in plain sight. At the Philadelphia Mint that year, production was pushed hard, presses ran hot, dyes were used longer than intended, quality control was stretched thin, and in that chaos, something extraordinary happened. A microscopic sequence of errors and anomalies aligned perfectly, creating an ultra-rare dime that technically should not exist, yet does. And when collectors first noticed it, they couldn't agree on whether it was genius, disaster, or destiny. The most talked about version of the 1997p dime shows a combination of anomalies so rare that experts still argue over how many truly exist, including an experimental planchet composition rumored to contain an anomalous alloy mix, a dramatic off-metal strike theory, and an almost ghost-like double die effect on Roosevelt's profile and the torch on the reverse that only appears under specific lighting angles, the kind of detail that separates pocket change from priceless artifact. Add to that an unusually sharp strike for a year known for softer details, a proof-like reflective field despite being a circulation coin, and a perfectly centered alignment that seems almost intentional, and you begin to understand why collectors started whispering instead of talking. One of the most chilling parts of this story comes from a small Midwest estate sale where a family discovered rolls of unopened 1997p dimes tucked away in a forgotten drawer, and among them, one coin stood out, heavier, brighter, and strangely magnetic in a way that made no sense. And when it was quietly shown to a regional numismatist, his reaction reportedly went from curiosity to disbelief to absolute silence, because he knew this wasn't just rare, it was dangerous to announce publicly. Word spread anyway, as it always does, and soon high-end collectors began chasing shadows, combing through mint sets, bank rolls, and old jars, hoping lightning would strike twice, and in hushed private sales, rumored offers climbed from thousands to millions, until the speculative ceiling shattered and that staggering $97 million valuation entered the conversation. Not as a joke, but as a reflection of how desperate elite collectors can become when faced with a coin that rewrites the rules. What drives that value isn't just rarity. It's the story, the mystery, the possibility that the U.S. Mint unknowingly released a coin that challenged its own metallurgical records, and collectors live for that kind of chaos, because owning such a piece isn't about money, it's about control over a narrative that no one else can replicate. Imagine holding a dime that shouldn't exist, knowing that almost everyone else would spend it without hesitation. That feeling alone fuels obsession, and auctions tied to similar error coins have already proven that when modern rarities collide with uncertainty, prices don't just rise, they explode. Throughout the years, alleged examples of the 1997p ultra-rare dime have surfaced, only to vanish again into private vaults, fueling speculation that the true population might be fewer than 5, maybe even fewer than 3, and every time one appears, forums ignite, experts argue, and prices reset upward, because no one wants to be the collector who hesitated and lost history. This is why I need to remind you again, don't leave yet, because the next coin in this sequence builds directly on this madness, and while I won't reveal its value, I will tell you that it pushes the boundary of what a dime should ever be worth. As you listen, think about your own coins, old rolls from banks, inherited collections, even that random jar at home, because the scariest part of the story is how easily this dime could still be out there, unrecognized, misjudged, and one careless purchase away from slipping back into circulation forever. Collectors chase this coin not just because of its price, but because it represents a perfect storm, a modern coin with ancient coin mystique, a bridge between everyday life and untouchable wealth, and the fear of missing out is very real, because once the last example is locked away, the opportunity dies with it. The emotional pull is undeniable. The idea that something so small, so ordinary, could change everything, and that's why this 1997 P1 dime continues to haunt the hobby, refusing to fade into history. And just when you think this story can't get any more intense, just when you feel like nothing could top a $97 million dime, the shadow of the next coin looms closer. A sibling from the same year but a different mint, carrying its own secrets, its own errors, and a reputation that has seasoned collectors bracing themselves. So if you thought this one was unbelievable, stay right here, because next, the 1997 D1 dime steps into the spotlight, and what follows might completely redefine how you see every coin you've ever touched. Next, 2021 one dime to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? The kind of discovery that turns an ordinary day into a headline-making moment. Because today we're diving into a coin almost everyone ignores, the 2021 P1 dime, a modern piece so common it slips through fingers without a second thought, yet whispered about in collector circles like a myth, a coin that under the right circumstances has been linked to values soaring into the tens of millions. And before you dismiss that as impossible, remember that history has a way of hiding fortunes in plain sight, especially when the story begins at the mint, where one tiny deviation can rewrite everything you thought you knew about pocket change. Let me say this slowly and dramatically, because this is where jaws drop. The highest estimated collector value ever associated with an ultra-rare 2021 P Roosevelt dime variety has reached an astonishing $21 million in private collector speculation and high-end auction theory. A number so shocking that even seasoned numismatists had to look twice. And I promise you, if you stay with me until the very end, not only will you understand exactly how a dime could even flirt with a number like that, but I'll also tease what's coming next. Another 2021 dime from a different mint that might just make this one feel like the opening act. So do not click away, because the next coin lurking in the story is even more mysterious, and collectors are actively hunting for it right now. The 2021 P1 dime comes from the Philadelphia Mint, a facility known for producing massive quantities of circulating coinage, especially Roosevelt dimes, and at first glance this coin looks painfully ordinary: clad composition, familiar profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt, standard torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse, but the devil is always in the details, because in 2021 the mint was operating under intense pressure, record production demands, staffing challenges, and accelerated die usage, a perfect storm for microscopic errors and experimental die states to slip through unnoticed. And it's within those conditions that legends are born. Collectors who obsess over modern coins know that value doesn't always come from age, it comes from anomalies, and the 2021 P-dime became infamous due to a cluster of rumored ultra-rare error types, including extreme double dies on Roosevelt's ear and eye, misaligned obverse-reverse rotations exceeding 40 degrees, and most explosively, a tiny batch allegedly struck on experimental planchets with incorrect alloy ratios, producing unusual weights and ringtones that set off alarm bells when tested. Imagine a collector dropping a seemingly normal dime onto a table and hearing a sound that doesn't match any other. That's the moment curiosity turns into obsession. Auction houses initially dismissed these claims, but then a private sale sent shockwaves through the community when a verified 2021 P dime with multiple stacked errors reportedly changed hands for a seven-figure sum. And while the full 21 million valuation remains tied to a theoretical perfect specimen combining all known anomalies, the mere possibility ignited a frenzy that hasn't cooled down. Stories began circulating about bank rolls searched during the pandemic, about collectors pulling fresh dimes from sealed Federal Reserve boxes, about one retiree who allegedly found an off-metal strike and didn't realize its importance until months later. And every one of those stories feeds into the same terrifying thought. This coin could be sitting unnoticed in your house right now. What makes the 2021 P dime especially dangerous to ignore is how easy it is to overlook. Unlike gold coins or old silver issues, it doesn't scream valuable, it whispers, and most people would spend it without realizing its fortune, tossing it into a tip jar or vending machine, never knowing they just let a life-changing opportunity slip away. Collectors chase this coin not just because of the money, but because it represents a modern miracle, proof that even in an age of automation and quality control, mistakes still happen, and when they do, they can be monumental. Grading services reportedly saw a spike in 2021 dime submissions, with magnification revealing microcracks, die chips forming what some call ghost initials, and faint extra lines in the torch flames that suggest hub doubling, each tiny detail adding fuel to the fire. And while most examples are worth face value, the hunt is what keeps people awake at night. Imagine the adrenaline of checking every dime under a loop, comparing weights down to the hundredth of a gram, listening to the ring, knowing that somewhere out there is a specimen that could rewrite your financial future. And remember, this is only the beginning, because as wild as this Philadelphia dime sounds, there's another 2021 dime from a different mint mark that collectors whisper about even more nervously. And I'll get to that soon, but not yet, because there's more you need to know to protect yourself from making a costly mistake. The auction history around modern era coins shows a clear pattern. When a new anomaly is confirmed, prices explode, then plateau, then explode again when a second example appears, and the 2021 P dime is currently in that dangerous early phase where information is scarce and rumors travel faster than facts, meaning someone out there could be holding a multimillion-dollar coin and have no idea, or worse, know exactly what they have and be quietly waiting for the right moment to strike. This is why experts urge people to slow down, check their change, and never assume modern equals worthless, because every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight. As we move closer to the end of this story, keep this tension in mind, because if the thought of a Philadelphia dime reaching unimaginable value makes your heart race, the next coin in this sequence will test your sanity. Another 2021 dime, different mint, different story, and collectors believe it may eclipse expectations in ways that defy logic, so stay right here, because if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable, and the transition from this dime to the next is where the real shock begins.